Howdy and good evening, my name is Gunnar Clovis, my friends and those yet to be made friends. I am a game developer and I would like to play Transilio, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it, by Drake Ottery. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Drake Ottery? This is my best guess. So this has been on my list, on my backlog of games to play for a while. I can't exactly remember where it's from. I feel like Drake probably asked me to play it. I'll bet that's what happened. I had a lot of requests a while ago. And then those slowed down, I imagine, because I was not answering the previous requests, or at least I wasn't saying it so much. So, yeah, Drake says, "Hey everybody, I have been working as a product manager at a hedge fund for the past 6 years and have learned a lot about what it takes to run large-scale software development projects. Now I have decided to turn my passion and create video games. Follow me for games, dev vlogs, travel, adventure stories, and more." Lovely. And yeah, has a link to the Twitter, so he has that Transilio. Okay, cool, Brooklyn. All right. We'll look through that. Yeah. So here, only game on itch, and I'm curious by it. It says a Transilio, a deceptively simple puzzle platformer. I like that. I like that tagline a lot. I don't know if that should be in the name. I'm not positive it shouldn't be. But yeah, normally that kind of tagline, a deceptively simple puzzle platformer, you'd have the blurb that comes right here. But this has another blurb that says simple systems, deceptive solutions. Yeah, I'm not positive where those should be. Maybe those could be reversed, but I don't know. It's fine. The itch page here is just the default itch.io creator page, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the background color has been changed to a slightly grayer white. I think that might just be my eyes, because normally default itch page looks like this. You have just normal black text on a white background with this red itch.io link. And then the game show up in this kind of list format. I recommend changing it to a grid. When you only have one game, or maybe two, that's fine. But especially when you have at least 3 games, which you should as soon as possible, then have those in a grid format. I think that's much better. And then later break it down into collections, which are like little itch game playlists and that kind of thing. And also hit edit themes when you're doing your thing. So if we hop over to my profile, just as an example, you always have this button edit theme, so you can change the background colors, text and link colors, get a nice color palette. I'm not the master of this. I wouldn't claim to be. Most people do a much better job than me, but you can definitely play with this. You can mess with the font. And yeah, I recommend switching from the sidebar, which is what you have by default, to the grid. It looks much better, especially when you have a big list. And when you get more advanced, you can do like CSS. I have some very basic CSS. It's not very good. Most people do much better than me. But yeah, you can do that later on and then kind of organize into collections and do interesting stuff like that. So yeah, Transilio, it's a puzzle platformer, puzzle game, playable in browser, which I'm very excited about. All of this I'm very excited about. I love puzzle games, I love puzzle platformers. This was made for Game Off 2019, very cool. Which has a great little GIF. Those looping, it's perfectly looping GIF for the jam, that's fantastic. Oh, and actually, wow, yeah, very contrary to that creator page for Drake, this game page is fantastic, because, yeah, it has a slightly transparent, very nice, it has a slightly transparent background too, with this nice gray, and yeah, they changed the link color to a nice pink, and then, most importantly, has a unique background set. Oh, and a logo as well. Yeah, all of this is great. All of this is really, really well done. Yeah, really nice. I really like having this background. It's probably from the game in some respect, or if not, it flows well. I can't notice a seam. It's nice abstract background art. It's a nice color palette, and the page right here, that the gray part, has been made slightly transparent, which is kind of tricky, actually. I'll go back to my own, because this is not something you would normally know. So my duplicate page is not a good example of a page. It's better than having the defaults, but it's not amazing. But when you're going to this, you can click more options, and then you get interesting stuff. So here has a really bad example, actually, because my background is just white, and the background 2, which is the center part, is black. And I could set that alpha to lower it, and so I could just eventually make it fade into white. Which again, this is a very bad example, but if I had a background image here, that'd be really nice to do. In fact, actually, yes, I think I did do that for this stupid asset pack. Yeah, so I actually made it so. Yeah, I have this blue, and it's almost all transparent. It was just like a few percent, so it would give like a little bit of contrast and some color. Which again, I wouldn't claim to be an amazing design. I'm not the best at this. It's a lot easier to review and critique than to do it yourself, of course, like with anything. It's much easier to talk about how bad games are than to make a good game yourself. You know, I'll always take someone who's reviewing stuff with a little bit of salt. And yeah, this game seemed to get a lot of attention, actually. It has a bunch of comments. Might just seem longer because Drake seems to be responding to all of them. As you should. I respond to all my comments too. Always do all that. That's very nice. Yeah, some devlogs, a bunch of screenshots. They all look great. The game looks great. Ton of info here. There's like update at the top. Oh my god, yeah, I'm talking so much because there's just a lot to talk about here. So yeah, last update, which was on the 2nd of January. Pushing new build to fix some bugs, add some quality of life improvements now that the game jam is over. Okay, so welcome to Transilio. Thank you for taking the time to check out our game. We really appreciate it. You play as a little blob who desperately wants to escape the strange dungeon it has found itself in. Fall to build up energy and release it by leaping. There will be tricks, there will be traps, there will be fun with a money-back guarantee. Seriously though, we would love to hear any feedback, / if you have any level ideas of your own, feel free to join our community Discord and share your thoughts. Okay, there's a Discord just for this game? Oh man, that overtook it. Yeah, sure, whatever. Not right now. Okay, and yeah, navigate through 15 unique levels, play a bunch of times, and try to beat my completion time 120 seconds. Okay, 2 minutes. Submitting as part of Game Off 2019. Reception is good. We're considering building into a bigger game, so let us know. Controls, AD or left and right, cool. Always have the default. That is the minimum, as I always say. Always have WASD and the arrow keys work. If you only have one, you're gonna alienate something. Left, I don't know. Arrow keys, pretty much everyone can do that, but there's some weird cases where a key might be missing. Like, I've seen that happen, where someone's, like, literally their D key is broken, and so they just can't use the letter D. And so that could happen for any key at any time. But the biggest issue is placement when you thinking about how the user's hands would be placed on the keyboard and or the mouse. That can get tricky. And also different types of keyboards. So most people, especially in America, we think of QWERTY keyboards, which is overwhelmingly what we have here. And in a lot of parts of the world, we have QWERTY and Quartz keyboards, and that's just reading the top line of the keyboard. On a US keyboard like mine, it's, QWERTY. There's a variant that instead of the Y has Z, and some of the keys are shuffled around. That's based on the language and a few other reasons. It's just kind of standard now. There are other keyboards like Dvorak, which supposedly increase typing speed. That's not actually true. The studies show that Dvorak does not really increase it. If it does, it's so negligible that it's really, really not worth relearning a Dvorak keyboard completely, because you just have to relearn a keyboard from scratch. And if you just dedicated that incredible amount of time you'd have to use to learning a Dvorak keyboard from a QWERTY keyboard to just learning how to type better on a QWERTY keyboard, you'd get a lot farther. That's kind of off topic, but yeah, those kind of like optimization keyboards are kind of fake, but they exist. I still like to make my games playable with the WASD equivalent on the Dvorak keyboard, which is comma AOE, because it's based on like the most common letters. It's funky, but yeah. But we think about accordion quartz, which is WASD. But another common type of keyboard, particularly across the pond in places like France, is an AZERTY keyboard. So that's exactly like it sounds. Instead of QWERTY, it's AZERTY. And so that means the equivalent of WASD in France on an AZERTY keyboard is ZQSD. So I'm going really ham on this, I know. But accessibility is really important. It's really important to me. I'm a huge accessibility advocate. I have a whole talk on it. And yeah, if you like only have WASD working, then your game is like literally unplayable on AZERTY keyboards. So hopefully the arrow keys can mitigate that, but still they don't conflict. So you can have ZQSD, WASD, arrow keys, IJKL, and comma AOE all work simultaneously, and I do that unless I need to use Q or E or other letters for some other abilities like an interact key or a Z to undo. Then I start to remove it, and then you should really have like rebindable controls and ultimate control schemes. But that's getting a little too far for a game jam game. But yeah, that's kind of stuff to keep in mind if you want to get really advanced with your input schemas and make your game as accessible as possible, making it so everyone can play your game, which is good. Making an accessible game it's for the benefit of your players, right? You're making it accessible for people, but that's for your benefit too, right? Because then you could have more players, obviously. But yeah, I went really far on that, I know. WC are arrow keys. Jump with W up, spacebar, cool. Or jump. Okay. Quick level reset. Hold backspace. Okay. Oh yeah, that works. R is normally... Yeah, this is a puzzle game. Yeah, I would recommend having R do restart as well. R is much more standard than like a backspace. Then pause with escape, very good. Has a bunch of info. Oh, it references the... Oh, okay, wait. Okay, so it's custom music, and then it just has it saved here. Very cool. That's nice. And it has a custom Discord, which is cool. And then a big list of future features. Very, very awesome. And yeah, a bunch of install instructions. Yeah, this is great. This is really, like a really, really well done page. Has all the information you need. I have no real comments. It's not like the prettiest page in the world because it's not super stylized. But I don't think that's needed all the time. I'm a big function over form person, so maybe that's just me. I think this is kind of perfect. I really like this page. I like how it's separated. You have like controls, and you have it's bolded, and you do that. Maybe you could set those as headers, so it'd be like bigger text. But honestly, I'm not even sure about that. It's just something to consider, maybe try out and see how it looks. And yeah, very nice. Oh, actually, something interesting here too is, yeah, the big headers are not technically headers. They're like, I don't know the right term for it, but yeah, these bits are in the pixel font, which looks really good, and I do like that font. It looks good, but it's not the most readable for big blocks of text. But I think this is perfect, just using it for these few things where people know what these are, they know what words go right here, and so it's not as necessary to be the most readable font, because like we know what's gonna be right here. And it's only one or two words, so it's readable, it's bigger, it's spaced out. Whereas I don't like using that font for the entire page, so all the comments and usernames and controls and everything. I don't like that one that's all in the pixel font, because that can be really hard to read really quickly, and I also think it just kind of takes up too much space. Whereas using a more traditional kind of serif-like font, I don't know if this is a serif font, but you know what I'm talking about. This is a lot more dense, a lot more readable, I think this is a much better way to go. This is just a very well-designed page, and I could go ham on it all day. I will stop and play the dang game. So it seems to be spaced pretty well. Okay, the window's getting a little cut off there. But because it's a Unity game, I can press maximize. So very cool. So we have a main menu. Okay, it does react to my mouse. Interesting. And that has controls right here. Having controls on screen all the time, very good. And yeah, it looks I can play the game while I'm on the menu, which is really, really nice. Whoa. Okay. Interesting. All right, so already the game is very intriguing. Looks it's kind of odd. I like a little main character. He's a little happy. He's not happy. He's a little neutral, white squishy block, squishy blob, and then yeah, when he moves, it kind of folds a little bit, or we see him from a side view, and that's how he looks. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll go to the credits. So Drake did programming, design, production, and I think yeah, this is the best way to do credits. Actually, it's very, very well done. The menus seem a little bit bugged out, where yeah, we'd see it was like hanging on there when I didn't have that. Also, the controls are still here. That's not the most professional. Looks a little weird, but not the biggest deal. But yeah, having, especially when you have a small team, just having the names of people and then say yeah, their roles, what they did, instead of saying programming Drake, design Drake, producer Drake. You know, it would be design Drake and bricks, art bricks. That's very annoying. Breaking up by section of discipline. Instead, I think this is perfect. Just having the names and their jobs. Very cool. And everyone is credited very well. They all have contact info. I assume that's the contact info they wanted. They have hyperlinks in the game description and asset citations. So wow, this is going, I don't know, I don't want to say above and beyond. It's more than what most people do, but it's what everyone should do, really, because this isn't that much work to do, right? It's just an alternate little screen. Oh, I made the mistake of clicking the Twitter. It's not that much work, really. It's just a couple screens with a bunch of text on it, and it looks really good. And it's a really, really nice thing to do. It's very professional. Yes, you see how that's kind of bugging? Yeah, see how the menus are kind of bugging out. All right. That's not a big deal, but I always get kind of irked by that. All right, and we can view the tester credits. Very, very cool. Very awesome. And yeah, we can send feedback. Yeah, thank you so much for checking out our game. We eagerly await any comments, feedback. We are considering adding more levels or expanding the game, but we need your honest input / to get a feel for the interest. Let us know. Also, feel free to let us know what your fastest completion time is. Community Discord, see game description for hyperlinks. And then some options. Okay, just for audio, which is totally fine. Yeah, I think the bare minimum options is a full screen toggle, and yeah, after that, that's the most base one, actually. Full screen is really important. After you have full screen, which is super easy, it's like one line of code in almost any engine. Then having audio controls like this, which I assume work. Oh yeah, they're very effective. So this is having a thing. So you notice when I set it down to half, at least for me, it sounds completely gone. Like it sounds like the audio's just disappeared. And when I do it very slightly, now it kind of sounds like the audio's half as loud as it was before. When I go down to here, it gets so quiet so quickly. That's a very common problem. It's actually something I studied audio engineering for a little bit for game development and kind of digital audio synthesis and that kind of thing. And this is a big thing we talk about early on is default audio, how decibels work, how gain works. Basically, I don't want to get too into it, but basically, a lot of times these kind of controls, these little sliders, they're setting the gain, and decibels they work on a logarithmic scale. So that's like how earthquakes work, how earthquakes are measured. Like there's a 0.3, there's a 4.0, whatever, I'm making up the numbers. But there's a number associated with the earthquake, right? And a 2 is not twice as much as a 1. I'm pretty sure it's 10 times as much as a 1 because it's a logarithm. So it's a little math heavy, but basically that just happens a lot where, the audio, because of how gain works and decibels work, it's being lowered kind of exponentially. It's not, it's getting lowered a lot faster than you expected. That halfway on the slider does not mean half as loud. It should. That's what it should mean. From a UI UX standpoint, that's what we as humans expect. And it's super annoying that I just have to kind of fine tune where I'd want the audio to be. But that's just an artifact of how gain works. You can fix it. It just takes a little tweaking. You kind of just have to adjust because this is a slider, so it's a number 0 to 100 or 0 to 1 with 0.5 in the middle or something equivalent to that. You have to adjust that value to the logarithm of decibels, and so then you can make it so it reacts how we would expect, so that this means half and not silent. That's not a big deal, especially for a game jam game, a first game. Don't worry about that. It's seriously fine. The fact that you have audio controls at all is fantastic. I'm just getting really far into the weeds of kind of more advanced topics. So if we start the game, we have our little happy boy. I love him. Welcome, Mr. Blob. Reach the stairs to escape. Oh, thank you. I never would have figured that out. All right. So actually, I kind of don't like that design already. Stopping the player in their tracks to yell text at them really sucks. Players want to play. That's why they're here. They're here to play the game. You have them playing your game. That's a hard situation to be in, and something that should be appreciated. Don't kind of waste the player's time is the ultimate thing. That's the number one rule of game design, is don't waste the player's time. And stopping the player in their tracks, see? And I have to exit out of it. At least I don't have to step through multiple pages of text at once, but seriously, I can't go 5 feet before you stop me. It's why do people hate Navi in in The Legend of Zelda? People don't like having text thrown on them, and this is just, it kills the pacing. It's really bad. And so what you could do here is make it optional, that they run past this, and then you can flash, flash enter, which is, we're using, E doesn't work, but we're using enter to close these. But I can't reread them, which is also really annoying. So this reticle tells you how high you can leap. When you land from a fall, you store potential energy, which you can then use to jump. Okay, that's actually super cool. That's a great idea. That's actually an amazing idea. But these signs I'm going to keep talking about, because see, now I can't reread them. I can press enter, it's gone. The color went away, it's no longer green, it's gray, so it's worthless. So if I accidentally had hit enter, which I'm gonna do, and that's a very normal thing to do, I can't reread the text even when I want to. That sucks. Why can't I just press enter again when I'm on it or next to it to read the text again? There's no reason that shouldn't be the case. It's super obnoxious. But stopping the player against their will is also really bad. Don't do that. You can just make it so that when I get within range, so that's like one tile away or so, then you flash E or enter above E probably, and then I press that to open up the box, and then I can open it and close it at my leisure. If I've already played the game, I don't need to be forced to read it again, because that's super annoying. Because what if the game crashes and I want to rush back through the levels, which is already kind of giving the game more attention than a player has reason to. If the game crashes, they're fully within their right to just stop playing and have no reason to feel bad. So what if a player is trying to play the game again? They're trying to enjoy it, trying to do a speed run, and they just have to and wade through the text every time? That's super annoying. Don't do that. Don't do that. Especially because it's such an easy problem to fix, and that's the biggest thing. When a problem is super easy to fix, that annoys me the most. Note that because you bonked your head, you fell less distance and stored less leap energy. Okay, very cool. I really like the idea behind this game. It's very smart. Okay, I can use the arrow keys for the menu too. Cool. Alright, so escape to pause, backspace to restart. Very cool. So we have whatever this is. The little blob got stuck in a magnet. Try again. Oh, okay. Okay, I don't... It's a very interesting concept. I don't understand how far I can move when I'm allowed to do that. Excuse you? What's up here with the art design? Yeah, these are like little bad magnets, and if I go step on the bad magnet, then I have to restart, which is kind of annoying. That's fine. Game moves fast enough when I'm not being made to stop at a signpost, which just should be optional. Just make it optional. No! What? Game moves fast enough. So we go up here. Yes, so it's timing based. I don't like that. I wish it was step based, that I had a set amount of steps. No, I meant to move only one. Dang it. Yeah, so here... Yeah, this is a thing I don't really like, and it's kind of a cardinal sin of puzzle games. And that's like, I know the solution, but I just kind of have to... Oh man, I screwed up. I know the solution, but I just have to kind of wade through the steps, which is really annoying. Alright, so go up one, drop, then drop. Okay, cool. I still think this is just a fantastic idea, though. It's a really, really fun idea. It's very clever. Are we gonna fall there? Yeah. Okay, so how do I want to do this? I can't go to the right, so I, kind of obviously have to go down. Oh, you had to... Oh, yeah, I can stop there, too. Oh, that sucks. Alright, very cool. Okay. Why I held all that momentum. I meant to just fall from here and then store only that. Why didn't my momentum get reset there? Oh, okay. Okay, I guess it stays at the top of... Oh, and I have to bonk my head? Okay, and... Oh, man. What? restart, really. And yeah, do notice that they're just using the nice little game assets, which I do really like. I like this design that is being used as the itch page background, which is very nice, very effective. Doing that kind of stuff is always really, really good and smart. I am a little confused with the puzzles. Also notice, yeah, I like the checkerboard background too. Checkerboard's always a good idea because it's super simple and easy to make. But it's a checkerboard background, but they occasionally have these little details. It has a little, dotted line selector, and this little like weird kind of bento box TV dinner design. Those kind of designs could be used to see, now I'm stuck down here. Yeah, so I can definitely get stuck a lot. Which I don't love. I don't really love it in design when you can get stuck all the time. Prefer having puzzle games where you can't get stuck. You can't put yourself in a fail state. But that is harder to do, and that doesn't work with every kind of idea. I do think there's definitely ways that could be made with this idea, but yeah, I get it. It's fine. So yeah, it's kind of obnoxious that I go up here and I can't move to the right. I'm passing right by it. Man. And I will say, I feel like I don't totally understand the momentum stuff because I really thought that, like, I don't know, if I fell from here, so I thought my momentum, my jump would be from here, right? But it stays at the top, which is kind of odd. I did not expect to get stuck so quickly. Hello again. You probably noticed a cut just there. That's because I was very tired and kind of fallen asleep in the last recording of Transilio, and I was getting kind of frustrated and very stuck, and I was super stuck here. So I just ended up playing through the entire game off screen, just because this is already long enough, and this video is going to be really long. It's a lot longer than I wish it was, and so I don't want to put you through watching me struggle to figure out puzzles anymore, and I didn't know how long this game was. I felt like it might be really long. It's manageable for one video. I don't want to break it up into a part 1, part 2. But yeah, so this level, I just solved it. You had to hit your head right here. But that is, I mean, like, once it's a puzzle game, so once you see the solution, you're like, oh yeah, obviously. But I don't know, this one, it has so many, like this thing, it's just like, there's, I don't know. This whole pipe down here, it's just like a big red herring, I guess. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's a little too early in the puzzle game I don't really like red herrings in puzzle design at all, actually, but especially I think it's way too early for that. It's not super great. Alright, so this one, same thing. If I fell down here, I can jump up, but then my jump height is effed, so I have to restart. And yeah, the restarting with backspace is fine. Actually, I think backspace should be a key to use to restart, but having to hold it, I actually do kind of like that, but not in this context. One, because the levels are so short, and you need to restart so often in this game as a player, that holding it down feels really bad, especially because there's no visual indicator. Whenever you have input, anytime the player gives input at all, even if it's like wrong, if I hit left right now, I'm walking into a wall. What ideally should be happening is that I would hear like a boom, 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 like a sound effect of me failing to walk left because I'm against the wall, right? That would be perfect, and then you could spruce it up even more with like little particle effects and even a custom animation for like leaning against the wall and can't move any further. That's like pro tier. I wouldn't expect that's above and beyond. But yeah, in general rule of thumb, anytime the player gives input, you need to acknowledge that visually and with audio, and that does not happen with a restart button. There's no like ding ding ding, like there's no loading bar. There's just should be some little indicator information. It could be even like a dimming on the screen for a while you're holding it down or something like that. You could do all sorts of things, but there needs to be some visual indication. But I wish I could just press R. R is the normal key you'd use to restart, like I was saying before. I wish I could just press R and then be done. Like, it's frustrating that's not the case to me. And a lot of stuff like this is just, it's unnecessary. It's just fat. So playing through this game, I think it's really good. I think it has a lot of potential. I do like it. Man. There's a lot of small things I would tweak. That's actually one of them. The deaths are weird because it's you got stuck on a magnet and then you just have to hit restart. It just doesn't feel good, you know. Instantly throwing that restart thing, I don't know. I kind of wish it was just more of a traditional death animation. Maybe it's more violent than just getting stuck on a magnet to starve, I guess. But I don't know, something more juicy and engaging, because that's the other thing, is just when you die, it just sucks, because it's just like, okay, the whole game stops really suddenly. I'm thrown in an annoying menu. I have to press it myself, and yeah, there's nothing like interesting to look at. It's the least interesting to look at thing in the game. I kind of wish that it was just more of a normal death thing, and my guy like exploded into a bunch of particles. That'd be a little bit more interesting visually. I don't know. It's just like, because when the player dies in a game, and this will kill me. When a player dies in a game, so what I had to do here is hit my head right so that I can hop up and then down. Yep. But that kind of stuff, that I already played through the levels now, so I genuinely kind of remember what's going on. This one was super easy for me because I'm used to this kind of thing from Portal and lots of games actually. I was reading through the comments, and apparently some people are having trouble with this level, but I swear I took my time. I had to spend quite a bit of time on a few of the levels, but this is not one of them, because I'm used to that kind of thing. This one was a bit more confusing, and I'm not even sure if I remember how to do it. I'm pretty sure I knocked that down. Yeah, and then I think what I did, yeah. I pressed this. So this is the first level that's introducing the boxes, right? This is the first one with boxes. And this level's way too complicated. There's three kind of mechanics here. There's the boxes, green barriers with a toggle, and a pink barrier with 2 toggles, and 3 boxes. And this is the first level with boxes. It's way too complicated, it's way too much at once. That I think is a very common theme with this game. I think the core mechanics work. I think they're very interesting. This one stopped me. I had to look at a video in the comments for how to beat this one. I could not figure this one out on my own. So I tried everything. Obviously, these are magnets that kill you, and then you have to restart, which is very annoying. And then you can hop over here, push down this box. But you can only move twice in air, which, I don't know, still feels just weird and arbitrary. I don't know if there's more kind of like a visual reason for why that happened. I don't know, maybe if I'm just spitballing, but if there was some kind of visual indicator on the player that I got to move 2 spaces, but also it's timing based. So it's like, I don't know. So you can do that, but no matter what you do, you can't do that. You could push it back, but then you have this thing over here, so you could hop over here, and then, oh, that makes it green. Green means good, supposedly. It's hard to tell, actually, just by the fact that we know that yellow is bad, and green is not yellow. We assume green is good, which is correct, but there should be more information. It's like these X's. X is for, like, off, normally, right? X is for not selected. It's something like that. Get away with X is for bad. That's kind of a loose one. But here, the X's just turn green. So I wish the symbols kind of changed to reflect what they were doing more. Because right now, this little green, yellow box, this is the the most confusing mechanic in the game by far, in my opinion at least, because nothing has any explanation past that first level. Only the first level had those signposts, which I complained about, rightly so, because they just stopped you in your tracks and they were really annoying, and once you read them once you couldn't reread them. It was very silly. They should just be more like normal signs, like in a Mario game or in the sign painter from World of Goo. I always think of them. You can have that. Why is there not a sign right here? That's optional, that I can reread as many times as I want for a hint or a little explanation of how this mechanic works, because right now it makes no sense. It just turns green when I'm standing there, but okay. But so what I got from this is when my guy is standing next to this little box, it will turn green. But how is that helpful? Because I can't stand there all the time, because then I can't get anywhere. And pushing the box down makes no change. Now I can just stand on it there. Yeah, nothing, doesn't matter. So I hold backspace, wait for the restart, which gives no input. I also haven't mentioned, I don't think, this little cursor for where you can jump is awesome. Absolutely love this. It's just a very simple little kind of rotating lines bending around that in an infinite loop. Looks gorgeous. That kind of stuff is perfect. Hats off for that. But yeah, so what I had to do, and I only learned this by watching a video, is push that box down and then push another box on here, and that stops it. So what's actually happening is when this has like an empty adjacent space, it has like room to breathe, then it's yellow, then it's bad, and it has powers up magnets. There is no reason for the player to realize that, and that I can also screw it up like that. This game could really benefit from an undo redo system. It's kind of a platformer, but this is really more structured like a Sokoban movement game, just in like kind of a side-scroller perspective, which is very interesting, actually. It's very, very interesting. But like, because it's all tile-based and like really slow and chunky, and then the movement, especially the falling and jumping, is all the tile-based, and you float in midair for 2 spaces maximum. It's very chunky and tile-based, and it's more like a side-scroller Sokoban game than a platformer. And so I think you should do stuff like that. I think you should have like an undo-redo system, which is pretty easy to do. It's just saving like the expositions of the player and relevant stuff, so like the boxes, and that's it. In this game, I think it would just be saving the tile position of the player and the boxes every step. And you could name a step by not the actual steps. Yeah, step is a bad word to choose because this is main game maker. Not step as in frame. You could do that, but that's way too much information. I mean step as in like unit of movement, right? So right now I'm standing still, and there are a bunch of steps happening in the game. There's animation, there's music. The game is still running and waiting for input all the time. It's having a frame update. It's ticking. Whatever the terminology is for your game engine, it's the same thing. But this should be no what I said steps, no kind of units of movement. That is 1 unit of movement. that's 2 units of movement. It's only when the user presses input that's accepted, so I press left right now, that doesn't do anything, so no units are accepted there. And then I would classify transitioning from like there to here as 1 unit. You wouldn't want to save like all the in-between data. That's pretty straightforward to do, and this game could really benefit from an undo redo system like that. And this one functions the same. There you go. Drop down. This one was a lot easier for me. I like it. But again, I just don't understand. Like, there's this yellow thing here, but it has a box next to it, and everything else is filled, so why is it yellow? Like, the rules for this make no sense to me, and there's no explanation. The level design really doesn't help out with kind of explaining those rules. And this one, oh god, how did I beat this one? Oh, it had to do with going down this thing. So yeah, if I went down here. Yeah. There we go. And this is actually cool. This is actually really clever. Again, I like the core mechanics of this game. It's funky, it's weird, but that's a good thing, I think. I really like the. I think the mechanics of this game are fairly unique and very interesting. I think the main thing holding this game back as of now is the level design. I think the level design could be very much improved for usability, for kind of a better difficulty curve, and especially kind of teaching the player the mechanics a little better. Because this, to me, clearly comes off as a pretty typical indie puzzle game, or like, you know, prototype or beginner game dev puzzle game. Puzzle games are very hard to make. Kudos for even trying to make a puzzle game. Puzzle games are very tricky to get right at all. And so this one, I messed around with this level a lot, but well, now I know the solution is obvious. Now I push this little brick over here, but I was trying to do all sorts of stuff to get it to work. There we go. Yeah, just bonking your head. And this one was really easy for me. But again, how does this thing work? So now it's green by default when there's nothing next to it except the wall and the wire tile. And so I stand next to it or sit on it and it turns yellow. Oh, I messed up already. Yeah, so if I could just press Z to undo, that'd be great. And yeah, there's no feedback when I press backspace. When I'm holding backspace, there should again be like a kind of a ticking circle, little quick loading bar or something like that to show that it's accepting my input and it's waiting for it to pass the threshold. That's hugely important. But there's also no sound effects. Even when the level restarts, there's no transition animation, there's no sound effect. That's really important. So I would recommend doing that. And so this one, I push a block over for it to become yellow. Why? I don't really know why. That doesn't make sense to me. Because before they were yellow by default, and then I had to cover them fully to make them green. Like, I really just don't understand. And that's introducing. Or no, that wasn't a new mechanic, was it? I don't remember. Okay, and that makes it yellow. And now yellow makes it disappear. Yeah, so it's just arbitrary, right? There's not consistency with this mechanic either. This is my biggest pet peeve with this project, is this little yellow-green box mechanic. It doesn't make any sense. It's inconsistent. There's no explanation for it. The level design is really not helping it out. Yeah, and then I just kind of walk away. Or not. Oh, crap. Why? Oh, I remember just kind of walking through that. What happened? Oh, goodness. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what I did. I don't remember why or how I did this and then, like, didn't do it. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Cool. Yeah, again, I think it's a very interesting, solid mechanic. It's plenty unique enough. Alright, and this one also required just a bunch of messing around. You'll leave the crate on the button, leave the crate here, try and walk on it. What I had to do was just kind of drop it here. Because otherwise, if you fall down there, you get stuck. And yeah, this game you get stuck in the levels all the time. You have to restart constantly, and that's why it's so frustrating that it's only a second to restart the level holding down backspace. But those seconds add up, and you feel them. And that game feel is so important. So here, that just happens to work out. It's a odd number. Oh, and that was the end of the game. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was pretty short. So thank you so much for playing. We hope you enjoyed. Please don't hesitate to send feedback, comments, or thoughts to us so we can improve the game. Let us know if you want more, such would be interested in an expansion of this game. Team Drake, Bricks, VJS, Living the Dream, and then their contact info. So yeah, very cool. And yeah, I really appreciate how positive the developers are. That's very, very nice. I can move here, but I can't see what I'm doing, which is meh. I can get myself trapped by hitting my head on that K or T bits. Yeah. I don't know, it's tough. Puzzle games are really, really tough to design right. It's something that takes a lot of work, a lot of skill and practice. Again, kudos for doing a puzzle game, and this is pretty good for an indie itch style kind of puzzle game. Normally they're not nearly this good. And again, this page is super well done. There's just a lot of really good stuff about this game. A lot of potential. Yeah, I think that the level design just needs some work, which is tough. It just you kind of get that way through a lot of playtesting, through a lot of practice, trial and error in learning level design. Generally, but also specific to your game, because your level design, it's always going to be kind of different based on whatever your game is. Yeah, so here, like, we have these things, and super annoying that they stop me in my tracks, and then if I pressed enter accidentally because I was annoyed at that last one, now I can't read what it said, and maybe I need it because I got stuck, right? I don't know why this mechanic wasn't used any more in the game, because a lot of the other mechanics make a lot less sense. Or, I don't know, need a lot more explaining about it. Than what those little signs explain. And just R should restart the level instantly, pretty much. Give feedback on that. Yeah, it takes iteration to do puzzle games well. The trick with puzzle games is that you want to make the player feel smart when they finish it. A bad puzzle game will just take a lot of time and be really frustrating, so that when the player finally gets the answer, and this is what my experience was when playing this game, and I imagine others as well, that we got the answer just by kind of brute force guessing, right? There wasn't thought put into it so much. That happened a lot in this game. and never blame the players. Just like it's a bad teacher who blames his students. It's a bad game designer who blames their players, because the players are pretty smart, and it's based on how well you're teaching them. So look at a big successful puzzle game like Portal or Braid, or I don't know, Limbo. I'm just listing all my favorite ones. More recent ones, oh god. I'm thinking of all the old ones, like Limbo, Portal, Braid, World of Goo, Human Resource Machine I really like, but that's a very different kind of game. But all those games, you almost never get into a situation. In fact, in Portal and Braid, I think it's impossible. Actually, I think in all those games, it's impossible to get yourself in a situation where you have to press restart, or you have to do that if there is a situation that's extremely niche. And that's important. That's something important to learn from. But it's tough because it's not because those mechanics don't necessarily are inclined to restarting. Actually, I just thought, no, there's a level in Braid. I think there are a couple levels in Braid, actually, where you do have to restart if you mess up. But those are very few and far between. I think it's literally just 2 of them. Maybe 3, the one where they have like the key kind of moves on its own in the 4th world, something like that. I'm getting distracted, sorry. Oh goodness. Oh no, that was correct. I'm being silly. But yeah, a lot of the time making levels is more important than the design of the core mechanics. And you can, I think with this game, you could absolutely have most of the levels have it be impossible to have the player catch themselves in a fail state, and that's only done. That's not done wherever possible, and so the player doesn't have to hit restart by themselves constantly. Just you can mess it up within the level. So here, like this level, is there a way to mess yourself up? I don't think there is. Oh yeah. So there, I just messed it up. So I jumped up and then moved to the left, and so now I can't jump at all because going down the slope doesn't count. So now I have to restart, which is again okay because it's a short level, but it's annoying. I have to hold backspace down like that. It's frustrating. But a lot of times you can just kind of make it so the game players don't have to restart due to the level design. Braid kind of inherently makes that tougher because you have the whole point of Braid is the rewind shift mechanic. And so that's kind of like a restart, not really, but yes, it's an undo system. And so that isn't needed, but you look at a game like Portal. Portal, intrinsically, there's nothing about it that would like make it not need an undo system. And in fact, if you look at like Portal, the Flash game, if I recall, that game you did get stuck in levels quite a bit. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm confusing myself. But I feel like in Portal, the Flash game, you did get you did get yourself into fail states quite often. But the actual official Valve Portal games never did that because of kind of just superior level design through lots and lots of playtesting, lots of hard work, and that's what it takes. So I am still actually very tired. I'm recording it even later than I was last time on the new day. I could ramble on indefinitely. There's a lot of stuff to like about this game. My main problems are, I think the level design could be improved, and a lot of the communication, like different mechanics, just are not really explained to the player, either through the gameplay effectively enough, or through, at least as a crutch. It should be always an add-on. You do want the game to be understandable through the gameplay as well. The gameplay should be its own tutorial. But I think having sign painters as a kind of helping tool, I think that's useful and important. I think that's good. And so yeah, I think you could definitely do stuff like that to improve this game. But otherwise, just keep making games. You clearly had a bit of a team, and you guys all seem super nice and awesome and passionate, which is fantastic. And you guys are gung-ho about working on this game, which is awesome. But I don't know, I would actually really recommend that you guys keep working on new games, because you will find it so much more beneficial in the long run to make a bunch of games, because you learn so much more by making a diversity of games of all different genres, finishing them. The finishing is so important. And if you make like a handful of games, I always recommend trying to make a game a week. That's not realistic for everybody. It should be. we all have enough time. It's just, if you want to learn a skill like game development, you have to make sacrifices. So that means less anime, less TV or something. It's very feasible to do a simple game a week. But with teams, that can be more difficult coordinating, perhaps. So, but making games at a consistent rate doesn't really matter how big or small the intervals are. If you're consistent, making a game a week, a game every 2 weeks, game a month, you'll see a lot of progression. And this is a pretty fully featured game. There's no bugs that I can find. It's has a lot of art and music. This is very, very well done. And if you guys can accomplish this, you guys can definitely make a bunch of simpler games. So I really recommend that you do that. Yeah, here we go. Because through the process of making many small games, quantity over quality, you will improve so much, you'll learn so much, and then you'll be able to come back to the projects that you do really care about, which may still be this game, and you'll have a fresh perspective and be able to approach it with a lot more knowledge, a lot more wisdom, and I just cannot recommend that enough. But not everyone does that. It's very common that teams and even solo developers get kind of hung up on a dream project, and they just work on that for months, if not many years. And then I've seen so many people kind of get lost in never-ending projects, particularly with RPG Maker. RPG Maker is sucks in every wannabe beginner game developer, where I wish they were just like, no, just make Pong, just make Pac-Man, just make Tetris, just make a first-person shooter from the default Unity template. Just make a bunch of small games, because if you made a bunch of small games, then your big, say RPG Maker game, whatever your dream game is, your big game, instead, you could work on that for, you'd say 6 months, and that 6 months would turn into 2 years at least. 2 years and you're not finished with it yet. That's how it always goes. But if you'd instead made a bunch of small games for those, say, 6 months that you had planned to work on the big game, you'll be able to come back to that big game and complete it so much faster, right? That the process of making small games, you learn so much and your confidence goes up and you gain a following as well. That's super important. So what would have taken you, maybe say your 6 month estimate for your big dream game was right, which it won't be. It's very, very hard to estimate how much time projects take, and that is a major skill that is learned pretty much only through experience. That's like the only way to really learn it. That massive project of yours that you say would take 6 months, and that's not accurate, but let's say that's true. Let's believe that. If you made a bunch of small games for 6 months instead, then that big game will probably only take you a month or a couple weeks, because your skills will have improved so dramatically. And so it's so important to make new games. I don't want to discourage you from working on your games that you care about. And it's not because I don't think this game's good. I think this game's great. I think it has lots of potential. But I would like to see you guys grow. And I think even process of making this game better is to work on other games, because then you can get a fresh perspective, you can get re-energized and reinvigorated, learn more, improve, everything, improve art and coding and game design, especially, all that stuff. And that's just hugely beneficial. So that's my ultimate recommendation. Pretty much the same recommendation I make to everybody. But I am very tired. I will end it here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was educational, gave you something to think about, gnaw on, maybe take with you on your own game development journey. I hope you have a lovely day. Please remember that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Remember to love and respect those around you. Try and walk in your neighbor's shoes. Turn the other cheek. All that good stuff. Wear a seatbelt. Exercise. Eat broccoli. Good night.